Hi, hello, welcome back to my channel. Shout out to the Salem Coven members who are seeing this first. Thank you so much for supporting my channel. And if you haven't already connected with me over on Patreon, it's completely free to join. And you'll still get some perks. I'll occasionally drop a YouTube video there early, or I'll make a previously only accessible to the Salem Coven members, accessible for everyone. If a video is ever taken down after I post it on YouTube, it will be available for free on Patreon, plus it's ad-free. However, if you are interested, you can join the Salem Coven members and get early access to all of my content, extended versions, exclusive live streams, unblurred visuals like music videos, requested interviews, live performances, things that I either can't put on YouTube or I have to blur for YouTube, more weigh in on what I do next, things like that. All of the information will be in the description below. So, I'm really cold. I know it's a random thing to start this video as, but I am really cold. For those of you who don't know, I have some immune issues, and so sometimes I just have issues regulating my body temperature on a good day, but sometimes it's worse. Lately, it's been a little worse. So the house heating is on. I have a space heater beside me, and yet I'm still freezing. So, and I have a blanket, like the whole 9 yards. The point is that if you're wondering why I have a hat on, it is because I went and ran some errands and I had on my beanie. And then when I came back, I was starting to film and I took it off and I was like, that's doing a lot more than I thought it was. And I want it back. So I was like, do I have my other earphone deals? So we are going with these earphones today, so I don't have to take off my beanie. So there's that. Just finished up 2 of the songs. Let's do the other 2. I was supposed to also film a album reaction today. I don't think that's probably gonna happen, given how much time just spent on 2 songs. Oh my god. Well, I guess this is, like I said, Introduction to NAS Part 2. And we have 2 more songs. This is on Stillmatic, I believe, and it was in 2001. I don't know if this was a single and it was 2001 or if that's when the album came out, but regardless, 2001. And it is called Rewind. I can tell you that if all of his songs are like this, I can't imagine doing an album. Like, I literally cannot imagine doing an album. That's gonna take me so long. Like, okay. That's something for another day.
Listen up, gangsters and honeys with your hair done. Pull up a chair, hun, and put it in the air, son. Dog, whatever they call you, God, just listen. I spit a story backwards.
Sorry, I know it skips. I literally I cannot fix it. I do not know how to fix it. I think it's just my new audio setup, and because of the way it's kind of like band-aided together, I would have to change the whole audio setup. So I'm just kind of accepting it for now. I'm sorry. Let me go back just a bit.
Dog, whatever they call you, God, just listen. I spit a story backwards, it starts at the ending. The bullet goes back in the gun. The bullet holes closing his chest of a nigga. Now he back to square one, screaming, shoot, don't please. I put my 5th back on my hip. It's like a VCR rewinding a hit. He put his hands back on his bitch. My caravan doors open up. I jump back in the van and close it shut, go in reverse. Slowly prepared, my nigga jungle utters out something crazy like, go he there. Sitting back in his chair, we hitting the ropes. The smoke goes back in the blunt gets bigger and growth. Jungle unrolls it, put his weed back in the...
I have so much to say. First of all, he's telling the story back. That is such a cool concept. I love that so much. Second, Jungle is such a cool name. I don't know if that's like a nickname or what, but Jungle is... I just love that name. I just can't, I'm sorry, I just can't get over the fact that where does this line? The bullet holes close in his chest. Now he back to square one. Also, I just came to a realization that is completely unrelated and I need to look this up to make sure I'm right. Hold on. I just need y'all to know I just went down like a huge rabbit hole. And if you're wondering how my brain works, it's like I get fixated. This is the ADHD. I get fixated on little things. And I knew that if I didn't look it up, it was going to bother me. And I didn't know that I was stumbling across... I don't even know how to explain to y'all. Like, I want to explain what just happened while I had the recording paused, but I don't even know how to describe it. So I guess I'll start with this. When he said the fact that this is where my mind went, I Oh my God. Why is my brain like this? Okay. I don't have other things that I need to be doing. I'm literally in the middle of a reaction, but I knew it was going to bother me. So he said, back to square one. Okay. And when I said it out loud, I don't know why, but a PlayStation controller came into my brain. Okay. And I had this moment, this like light bulb moment, or so I thought, that was like, so I have I have issues. A lot of times the reason why I don't like playing games is because you would think I would. There's a part of my personality that you would think that I would like it, but I'm so competitive, but I have no skills to back it up. Okay, so it's a problem because I'm terrible, and it's not like this thing where it's like, well, you'll get better. I just never get better. And part of it is because I get really hung up on the buttons. For some reason, my brain will, like, I would classify myself as a decently intelligent human being, okay? And yet, something as basic as I cannot remember what the freaking buttons do. What do you mean? What do you mean you can't remember that? I can remember the most obscure tiny facts, and yet I cannot remember the controller. It drives me nuts. And so in my head, I was like, square one. And I was like, square one meaning the beginning. And I was like, oh my God, is that what the button means? Like, does square mean back on a PlayStation controller? Do you see how ridiculous this is? So then I go online, and I know buttons do different things for different games. Logically, I do know that. But I was just meaning, like, in theory, does it typically mean like go back or move in that direction? I don't know. You know what I mean? Like, so I go and look, like, does a PlayStation? It sent me down a rabbit hole, okay? And I didn't realize that there was going to be Reddit threads dedicated, is what I was trying to say, to this. I'm partially more confused and also weirdly satisfied at the things that I was reading. I don't know how to explain this. One of the things I was reading, which was interesting, was, and I just really liked this, that I wanted to share. Mind you, this is from 16 years ago. Bear that in mind. This person said, I had thought it was just a number system based on the number of lines each shape consisted of. 1 circle, 2 cross, 3 triangle, 4 square. And it clarified lines, not sides. So like the lines, so like a cross or like the X would be like line. And I was like, that didn't answer my question, but it did open up a whole other rabbit hole for my brain to go down. And that's where I'm at. And then this person said, but the comments were what was sending me. Your superhuman genius logic has no place in the business world. Then I understood why the edit had to be posted, because it said, how the fuck does a cross have 2 sides? And this person was like, I think he meant lines more than side. Lines work. Then this person was like, if each line is a side. And it got into this whole discourse, which I thought was really funny, because I was like, I got what the person meant, but apparently other people did not. Then this person said, how about circle equals 0, intersection, cross 1, triangle 3, square 4. Why no 2? Because fuck the number 2, that's why. And I was like, what? But then I really liked this. Mind equals blown, and this person put circle equal at infinity, question mark, and then the person commented back on that person said, he's a witch. And then it was interesting fact, X's and O's are reversed while transitioning from Japan to America. In Japan, O is confirm and X is canceled, which makes sense in my mind. However, during the shift to the Western world, X is now confirm and O equals canceled, but their positions are the same. And that just really sent me into a spiral. So it just sent me into like a thought spiral, which, like, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy a good thought spiral. Not necessarily while I should be filming a reaction. So, anyways, that's where my mind's been. I thought I was onto something, and then it turned into like a whole thing. We need to focus back, as if I don't have things to be doing. I'm still hung up on it though. It would have made so much sense. Anyways, I'm moving on. I'm moving on. Also, I do love the honeys with your hair done. Pull up a chair, hun, and put it in the air, son. Dog, whatever they call you, God, just listen. I'll spit a story backwards. It starts at the ending. Such a cool concept. How bullet goes back into the gun. Bullet holes. Well, actually, shouldn't that be reversed? Bullet holes close, and then the bullet goes back to the gun. Right? Am I wrong? I'm not asking that because I'm judging the song. That doesn't matter to me. I'm just like, I'm genuinely asking this for my own sanity. If I'm right, that's not a criticism. I just genuinely am trying to think of this. Because the bullet would close and then the gun, the bullet would go back to, right? I mean, I guess you could also see it as like the bullet goes back to the gun, which would be the time. No, I still stand by what I said. Okay, this is not the point. This is simply not the point. Screaming, don't shoes, please. I can't even talk anymore. My brain is just fried. Screaming, shoot, don't, oh, that's why. This whole video is just gonna be me struggling with my different neurodivergencies because obviously I just went down the ADHD spiral. Then you get into like, it's not about criticism. I'm not judging. It's just for my own sanity because I logically need to understand. And that's the autism side. And then we get into the dyslexia because I just assumed my brain switched around the words because I'm used to that. But the words are actually in reverse because it's please don't shoot, and it's instead right here he says shoot don't please. But again, I thought I was just reading it wrong because of my own dyslexia. I don't even have words for my brain today. Can we just pretend that, like, go back to the days when you thought I was onto some things, okay? Just remember that person exists. Maybe that person doesn't exist in this moment, but like, she's there sometimes. Okay, shoot, don't please. I put my fifth back on my hip. It's like a VCR rewinding a hit. He put his hands back on his bitch. My caravan doors open. Like, go he there he go. This is brilliant. Okay, we just need to keep listening. I'm sorry.
The blunt turns back into a cigar. We listen to Stevie. It sounded like heavy metal fans spinning records backwards of AC/DC. I get my niggas dap, jump out the van back first, back upstairs, took off the black shirt. I'm in the crib with the phone in my ear. Listen up so y'all can figure out the poem real clear. The voice on the phone was like, outside, right, we. So with my mouth wide, holding my heat. Bullets I had plenty to squeeze, plenty for ya. Cause Jungle said block your own enemies up. Hung up the phone.
Each time he says it, my brain wants to flip it. And so I'm like not focusing on the next line. The enemy's on your block. Okay, got it.
Then the phone rang. I'm laid in the bed thinking about this pretty young thing who left. She came back, her clothes just fell to the rug. She fell to my bed and gave me a hug. I told her no hell. She talk about me kiss. Bobbed her head, then spit a nut back in my dick. Started sucking with no hands, a whole lot of spit. Then got up and put a bra back on her tits. Got fully dressed and told me stress really I'm. Picked up a Gucci bag and left a nigga behind. Walking through the door, she rang the bell twice. I vomited, vodka back in my glass with juice and ice. The clock went back from 3 to 2 to 1, and that's about the time the story begun. That's when I first heard the voicemail on the cell. It said, son, we found that nigga, we got a kid.
I need to hear that again. No, you know what? I don't need to hear it again. What I need to do is I need to read it backwards. Because that was, wait, actually there's more song. I just changed my mind like 3 times. We need to listen to the rest of the song is where I was getting at, but I just kind of, let me at least go back through that last, and then we can finish out the song. Okay, so, go either. It's just such an interesting concept. We listened to Stevie, it sounded like heavy metal fans spinning records backwards of AC/DC, jump out the van. I loved I'm at the crib with the phone to my ear. Listen up so y'all can figure out the poem real clear. This is brilliant. So my mouth was, oh, okay. And then going back through that whole, that is a wild line. Those are wild lines to say. I just love how the quotes specifically are said backwards. Like, it's not completely reversed, but the word order is, which is cool. So it's like you can still hear the words. It's not like, you know, Kendrick, the beginning of Euphoria, that thing. You can actually understand what it is, but the words themselves are just flipped around, which I really like. I'm really stressed. Vomited vodka back in my glass. Oh my God. 1 to 2 to 3. That's about the time the story begun. That's when I first heard the voicemail on the cell. It said, son, okay, keep going.
You hear me? You hear me? Listen, man. This dude right on the block right now, man. I found him right now. I see him right now. Let's kill him.
Yo, this NAS, leave it. Peace.
That is so cool. Okay, wait, it doesn't have those lyrics on Apple, so let me look those up because I want to read it right. Okay, so it should have said, yo, this is Nas, leave it, peace. Let's kill him. I found him right now. I can see him. The dude's right on your block right now, man. Listen, man. Ayo, son. Ayo, son. You hear me? That, what? This is, that, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed. What do you mean? That is such a cool way to tell the story. Great recommendation, guys. Great recommendation. I'm in awe. Also, I just want to throw this out there. It has the written by. I do not want to anger anybody. Let us all remember that I do not have a lot of awareness about the music industry in general, but especially when it comes to hip hop and rap. I have had on my list to do for Kendrick the interview with Rick Rubin. Is that the same Rick Rubin that's a writer on this? I did not, I mean, I didn't know who that was, to be honest. Okay, so he's, oh my God, yes, I did know who that was. I just didn't know the name because he's a co-founder of Def Jam Records. Oh, I did know who that was. I lied. Just literally ignore me. Well, he's on this anyways. So I was like, oh, that name, I did know that. I love how I was like, I don't know who that, yes, I do. Anyway, okay, we need to move on. Okay. Now we have a big jump. So we were just in 2001. Now we're going to go all the way to 2021. That is a 20-year skip, and that's crazy. That's longevity there. So this is from King's Disease 2 is the album name. Very interesting name. And the song is called Rare. And I don't have it up. Hold, please. Now I'm singing Selena Gomez. So take that for what you will. Okay, sorry.
Yo, I'm in rare form. Niggas speak down on my name like I wasn't there for them. Talk about back in the days. This isn't back in the days. They want me back in my ways. Chip proof in the fade. Musically.
The way I wouldn't have known about, I would have understood the chipped, obviously he's saying they want me back in my ways, chipped tooth in the fade, which I would have obviously understood that at one point he had that, but it is cool that it got brought up in a previous song that I did hear, and now I'm getting to hear this. I do really like that.
Musically I'm on Mars. Walking all over the beat, putting my feet on the stars. I'm rocking like Lenny, thinking like Jimmy the first time he seen a guitar. Standing in front of where they shot about us and we gotta know who we are. I'm in rare form. Wearing red Jordan straight from Air Jordan, this a fair warning. Too many young guards, beef over nothing. When you get money, you know that it's coming. Saying they homies, but they ain't 100. We the most 100. I got my Mets hat on to the back. Y'all already know where we going with the stats. Hall of Fame only, kings and queens only. They all be grabbing my style, but you know they can't hold me. Yeah, I'm in rare form. Y'all still on the ground, you know I've been airborne. Studying big, studying Nietzsche. You gotta call on the chopper to reach me. Homie, I don't need a jeweler to freeze me. Ice on my veins, I make it look easy.
Oh, I I like that. Okay. It says, wait, go back. Speaking down on my name, like I wasn't there for them. Talking about back in the days, this isn't back in the days. They want me back in my ways, chipped tooth in the fade. I assume that he means that maybe two ways. As you get older, I feel like your priorities change, the way you spend your time changes, and things like that. So I could see this being like two ways. I could see it being about like back in the old days, you used to do this, or you would be like this, like in his personal life, but then also in his music, because there's always going to be people who don't like how your artistry changes and evolves over time. You know, it's like someone's always going to be like, every new album that comes out of an artist with a catalog, people always compare it to other albums, right? Or oh, well, it's not like this. And it's like, I would say the majority of the time, the way you create a career that has this type of longevity is because you're going to have to evolve and change and grow, try new things and experiment. Otherwise, it's going to stay stagnant. And to be successful, most of the time, you do have to change. But if you change, then people are always mad that you changed, but you wouldn't probably be there if you didn't change. And that's not even taking into consideration just naturally your evolution as an artist. It also makes me kind of think about, like, as we get older, a lot of times we feel more empowered, or we learn that people who don't have our best interest in mind, you're putting more boundaries in place. You're being more cognizant of how you spend your time and who you spend it with. And when you start putting boundaries up, a lot of people will not like that. A lot of times when you start doing that, people are like, I miss the old you. And it's like, you missed the me that allowed you to take up more space and walk over me. You missed the way that I wouldn't fight back to certain things. You know, it's like that too. I'm not sure if that's exactly how he meant it, but that's what it makes me think of on a personal sense. And I like that a lot. Musically, I'm on Mars. And what's really cool about that is, like, from an astrology perspective, which, like, I don't know if he meant it like this, but Mars is, yes, it can be aggression, raw energy, but it's more than that. All planets and tarot and all these things, everything is a balance. There's negative sides to it and there's positive sides to it. And that's with everything in those types of practices. So it's not just aggression and anger, volatile, more raw emotions, but it's also your, like, drive, your ambition, passion. How do you handle yourself in conflicts and that sort of thing? Things like that. It's like him saying musically on Mars is, to me, a really interesting choice, because it's like, not only am I like on another planet, but it's also like what Mars specifically represents is really cool, because it is that creative drive, that passion, that desire to go after things. And then walking all over the beat, putting my feet on the stars. I love that, of being like, I'm in rare form, I am rare. But it's also like, I'm so far, like I'm on a distant planet, but I'm also like walking among the stars. And the image, walking all over the beat, putting my feet on the stars, I just love the like image that creates. I rock it like Lenny, thinking like Jimmy the first time he's seen a guitar. That is, I love that. Later on, when it talks about, like, you know, wearing rare Jordan straight from Air Jordan, and then thinking about that of like walking among the stars, that I really, really like. This too many young gods beefing over nothing. Love that. With time and age comes different perspectives in that moment. You think you're a god, you think you're invincible, but it's like, but you're not. And whether he means that in the sense of, in like the violence and gangs way, or if he means that more in the industry way, or both, perspective, which is interesting. And it's cool too, because I'm sure these are things that he probably, you know, even in the tracks we saw earlier, it's not something that he hasn't done himself. You know what I mean? Him trying to impart his own wisdom, I guess, is the best way to say it. When you get money, you know that it's coming. People are going to try to use you. You yourself have to be able to navigate access to resources and like not losing it. Those are things that Kendrick obviously talked about a lot, and especially like with Intimate Butterfly, how hard that can be to navigate that, and also falling into the temptations of things, saying they homies, but they ain't 100. So it's like people who just want you for what you can do for them or give to them. We the most hunted. So it's like, once you get to this point, once you start getting access to fame and notoriety, resources, success, all of these things, right? It's like finding people who are truly in your corner for you, and not just for what you can do for them or give to them, are actually loyal. But that's a hard thing to navigate. And I'm sure someone who's been in the industry that long would be able to attest to that. I got my Mets hat on the back. Y'all already know where we're going with the stats. Hall of Fame only. Love that. Kings and queens only. They grab in my style, but you know they can't hold me. I love that too, because it's like, you know, his style of music, his style of rap, like his style, his cadence, his these things, but also, you know, his style and like who he is. It's all of those things into one, but they can't hold it. It's a rare form that not everyone can do or say or take on. It doesn't fit right because it's not theirs. Y'all still on the ground. You know, I've been airborne. I've been walking among the stars and the Air Jordans deal. But then I think air takes on a bigger thing too, because again, and it kind of goes back to that first song. And I love the songs that got chosen because to me, there's a lot of interconnected themes and stuff. And that makes me think that he's got a lot of that in his work, which is really exciting to someone like me who loves looking at that and like how things are all connected. But it reminds me of the last video. It was if there was like consciousness that he was talking about, you know, being like asleep and awake kind of thing. And right here, him talking about, you know, I've been airborne. Not only am I like up here, or I'm on another planet, it's all of that, but it's also like to me talking about his consciousness and awareness because he goes studying big or studying Nietzsche, and Nietzsche's a philosopher. And so to me, that really kind of expands the airborne line. I really love the tracks y'all picked because I feel like it shows this kind of theme woven through that to me gets tied in here with showing like he's studying big, which I'm assuming is Biggie, and the Nietzsche a philosopher. He's showing like the different ranges of where he's pulling from and where he's learning from and how that's impacted his artistry. It just adds another layer of the being airborne, being higher, being more elevated, like a higher self, a higher consciousness. That's what I think it is. That's a really cool thread that's been woven through, and I like things like that. And then that gets further in the next line of you gotta call in a chopper to reach me. Okay, this line I have a question. Homie, I don't need a jeweler to freeze me. Ice in my veins, I make it look easy. When you say to freeze me, I'm thinking you're talking about like, I don't need a jeweler to pick out my jewelry. Like I have my own style and I've been doing this for a while. I've had access to this for a while. I don't need someone to show me how to do it. I've been here. I'm rare and I know myself and I know my style. I know it looks good. So like, I don't need someone to ice me out. I can do that myself. But then when he says, ice in my veins, it makes it look easy. I don't know if that is furthering what I just said by saying it's a part of me, it's a part of like my blood, essentially. Or if it's meaning that more metaphorically, so maybe a jeweler isn't actually a jeweler in this metaphor. How do y'all take that? Either way, I like it. I was just curious.
Ice in my veins, I make it look easy. Mentally, I'm in Queens. More money, more problems, you gotta be ready for all that it brings. Let them say what they say, revenge on my plate, I'm loving the taste. They see you shining, emotions get hard to contain, they just not evolving the same. Me and HB is too rare, I'm moving all through the snares. Sound on billionaire, ain't nothing changed, I'm flipping the page. I'm Prince on the stage, slave on his face, you know what they say. Hate either way, I'm staying rare for all of my days. I'm staying rare for all of my days.
Okay, wait. I think that was the end of the verse, so let's go back. Mentally, I'm in Queens. So earlier, mentally, we were on Mars. Oh, no, that was musically. Didn't we say mentally somewhere? Am I mixing? Okay, I'm wrong. Okay, so mentally I'm in Queens. More money, more problems. You got to be ready for all that it brings. Partially to like the haters, right? To people who wanted him to change, wanted him to go back, but also to people who don't think that he can still do it. He doesn't have it anymore. And then it's also to the people who are younger, who are coming up of him imparting the wisdom. Kind of all of those things is what I'm getting. People who are trying to copy me, but also people who want to be me, but also you're saying you want me to go back to this, but I'm also still evolving and I've obviously been here, but yet you don't think I should be here. All these different levels and different ways of navigating the industry, fame, success, all of those things. Let them say what they say, revenge on my plate, I'm loving the taste. Let them say what they're gonna say. Like, what I've created speaks for itself. I don't even have to do anything. It's just there. Love that. They see you shining, emotions get hard to contain. When you see something that's rare, you wanna tear it down. People do that all the time. Not to bring up Taylor, I waited a while, okay? I made it pretty good. in my defense. But in her song that's talking, in her most recent album, says, you know, they want you to rise, they don't want you to reign. And I've talked about that in another video recently. People love to watch a come up, but then when you get there, all criticism, people just want to tear it down. It's like, weren't you literally just like shouting for them to be on top, and then they get there and then all of a sudden it's not okay? People want to see people succeed because they want to see someone make it, because then it gives you the hope that there's a way to rise. But then once you get there, then people are like, well, now you're one of them, or like now you have this money, success, you can't relate to me anymore. I mean, there's just so many different ways that people look at it. They want people to rise, but they want them to struggle. But then when they perceive them to be at the top, they think that they no longer have any problems and they no longer struggle. And so therefore now that's not fair. It's not that black and white. You can fight this all day long, but people are going to say what they want to say. People are going to hate you. I'm not saying you can't listen to constructive criticism or feedback, but that has to be, to a certain extent, it has to be from people who you trust do have your best interest in mind, because at the end of the day, there's always going to be a ton of things thrown at you. And it doesn't necessarily mean that it is what's best for you. It could be what's best for that other person. You can't fight it. At some point, you just have to understand that like people are always going to have opinions and people are always going to want to tear things down. As long as you can trust that you've got people that can help you, you know, keep yourself from going too astray, right? That there are people to, you know, not let your ego totally take over. But anything past that, you have to just learn to live with, because people are always going to have things to say. The more someone shines, the uglier the hate gets. And again, that's harder to contain. It's a lot easier for people to say things that are negative than it is positive. You see it in reviews. You see it in like hate trains. You can stir something up. That's why rage bait is such a big deal. We saw that with the study that came out about looking at misinformation and how things get started and how much of the internet is bots. And it's not that all of that discourse was bots, but it's like once the idea was planted, people who hate her just to hate her are going to jump on that train. They just not evolving the same way. It's like, I'm going to keep growing and changing and learning, and you're staying stagnant. And then you wonder why I'm still here. Instead of thinking, oh, maybe I should evolve and change too, you're just going to sit there and hate on me and be mad. And then it also kind of feeds into the beginning, because it's like, do you want me to go back because you think that was better? Or do you want me to go back because you don't want me to continue to succeed? Which is interesting that you can kind of tie it back there and like the meaning feels slightly different. Me and HB is too rare. I don't know what HB is or who HB is. Someone let me know. I'm moving all through the snares, sound on Billionaire. Love that. Also makes me think of the, you know, like I'm walking over the beat. I like how it kind of mirrors. Musically, I'm on Mars. Mentally, I'm in Queens. You know, it also shows that difference between, he's showing he's got his grounds, his roots still, like with mentally, I'm in Queens, but then it's also showing like he's allowed himself to evolve in his artistry to the stars, to another planet. Ain't nothing changed, I'm flipping the page. Yeah, it's like, it's not that I have changed or, you know, like become a sellout or something. I've evolved. I keep turning pages because I'm writing more in the book. Also makes me think of him talking about like writing, you know, past the margins, because he's filling up with so many words. But then this, I'm Prince on the stage, slave on his face. That just makes me think all about like navigating the industry and the longevity of a career, and also goes back into that whole like puppet master type thing. Taylor fighting for her masters and all of that process. She's not the first or only artist to do that, right? And, you know, SWIFTIEs, when it became a big deal to Taylor, it became a big deal to us. And the more and more we learned about that, and I knew some of that on the fringes with Prince before the Taylor thing, but I learned more about it just through learning more and researching about masters and all of that stuff. Him talking about, you know, being a slave to the industry and to these predatory contracts. And it's not just in Hollywood, like it's across things. It's in corporate America. It's in predatory practices across industries, absolutely. But specifically with Hollywood and music industry and that whole thing, we've seen these predatory practices since the beginning. Artists have consistently talked about this. We hear about legacies after, you know, we lose people, and it's the reason why, you know, Taylor references a lot of people in her work. It's reviving their stories and retelling things, because it's like, we're not learning from the past. This is not a me issue. This is an industry issue that I am just in. I am not the first, and I will not be the last if we do not make changes, right? So him having the slave on his face, you know, up on stage, and also the symbol that he used because he didn't want the name of Prince, and like being in that predatory contract, and just the whole 9 yards. So like that line says so much. The industry and the machine itself, I really love that. And I'm sure there's more depth to it that I don't even understand, you know, because I'm not like super familiar with it, but I understand that line is my point, and it hits. You know what they say, KD the wave. Don't know what KD is either, if I'm being honest. I'm staying rare for all of my days. I'm gonna keep changing, I'm gonna keep evolving, and I'm gonna keep doing this because it's my passion. And I'm paraphrasing, obviously I don't know him and I don't know his artistry. Like, this is an introduction, but I'm assuming if you're gonna be in the industry that long, you care about your art.
Tarantino, curbing my ego, even though he know. Empty glass of Pinot, cigars in casinos. What they especially praise is the ethos. Stacks on blackjack, moving my chips, no superstition to make.
Go back.
What they especially praise is the ethos. Stacks on blackjack, moving my chips, no superstition to make me get rich. I'm with this chick, just one I brought today. In between placing my bets, we shopped at Cartier. Rose gold, I copped the receipt. Runway, hopped in a jet. Flight attendant, popping my wet. I said I need that dime, offer respect. We having conversations, niggas show me property there. I called my nigga in, I told him, yo, I gotta be there. Salmon shish kebab in the misty fall, roll a sticky log. Big dog affair, no kids involved. Round table having war council. Press one button, it'll change the world around you. Too rare, nothing to see here. Cuban over my streetwear. You're nobody till somebody kills you just to be fair. It's okay to keep the mystique. I learned that in the street. I'm me, solo with deep. I'm putting on for the G's. We've been doing gangster shit for a long time. Look inside my mind, see a gold mine.
Okay, we need to stop because there's just been so much said. Levels of Tarantino. Love that. Curbing my ego, even though he knows. I guess I take that as like, even though he's saying like, I am good, I know I have all this talent, I'm like Tarantino. There's levels I've evolved to, essentially. Legacy, I guess you would say, like, all that he's done so far. He's saying, I'm curbing my ego, even though he knows. Like, I take that as his ego knows that he's like incredible. But he's like, but I'm curbing my ego. And if that's how he means it, I love that line. And then it's empty glass of Pinot, cigars and casinos. What they especially praise is the ethos, which like belief, what guides you, your motivations, what you stand for, you know, like your culture, if you will. Spirit of who you are, moral compass, that sort of thing. Like, that's ethos. So him saying what I stand for is like what people praise. I love that. Stacks on blackjack, moving my chips. I know how to navigate and move in the industry is how I take that. No superstition to make me get rich. This wasn't just me wishing and hoping. This was me going out and doing it. This was the actions. This was the hard work and the dedication to the craft, to the artistry, to the ups and downs, evolving and navigating the industry is how I take that. And with this chick, just one I brought today, in between placing bets, which ties back, shopped at Cartier, was okay, I hopped in the jet, also back into the airborne thing, flight attendant popping Monette, which again, champagne, but then he says, I need that Dom off of respect. So Dom Perignon is aged, why it's more expensive, I believe. I'm not a big alcohol person, so like don't quote me, but I'm pretty sure that's right. And if that's right, I take that almost as like out of respect because I've been here for a long time. I think there's value in someone who has been here and been doing it, has the track record. I'm also going to respect that in my alcohol. And I'm willing to pay more for that because I believe that age improved things, which is how he's talking about himself, if you will. That's how I take that, and I like it. Salmon kebab, the way he said that was like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really understand what any of that means. If someone wants to let me know, but it sounded cool. And that's enough for me. Big dog affair, no kids involved. The adults are talking, the kids are not present, is how that makes me feel. Round table having war council. When I make moves, it's a big deal. And press one button, it'll change the world around you. And then too rare, nothing to see here. You have to be able to navigate this, and there's a responsibility and weight to this where it's like, you know, this big button could blow things up. I feel like we're meant to maybe infer that like his expertise and how he's rare and how he's stood the test of time, if you will, become kind of a rare gem, what you've learned along the way, but also the responsibility, going after things too, of like, to press the button, it'll change the world around you. There's big repercussions for pressing that button, if that makes sense. I just think all of it really does express well decades of a career. Too rare, nothing to see here. Maybe saying to a little bit, you can't take this on. People who are trying to copy him, right? And that kind of stuff. You can't just do what I did. You have to make your own path kind of thing as well. You're nobody till somebody kills you, just to be fair. That's a crazy line. I don't know if he's saying that more metaphorically, if he means that real, like how people, like artists a lot of times, and this is like throughout history, like painters, sculptors, singers, dancers, I mean, every type of artistry there is, authors, literature, just the whole 9 yards. A lot of times people don't appreciate them until they're gone. Also, I don't even remember which line specifically, but there's been a couple times sound or like production deal that makes me think some of these might be like references, and I think this might have been one of the places that it changed. I could be wrong though. It's okay to keep the mystique. I learned that from the, like, I also take that as like kind of what I said earlier about the protecting your peace. You can do your own thing. It's okay to not be involved in everything or do what other people are doing. Carve your own path. Your secrets are valuable. You know, privacy is valuable. That kind of thing as well. I'm me, solo or deep. I'm putting on for the G's. We've been doing gangster shit for a long time. Look inside my mind, see a gold mine. Love that. Love that. I love that with tying into the rare thing, thinking about the awareness and what he has done to continue to evolve and push and experiment and that sort of thing. Again, I'm making that assumption, but I feel like that has to be somewhat true just because he's had success. If you've been around the industry for that long, like, you know?
My own cosign, she texted inside my mind, see a gold mine. I'm my own cosign, she texting the old line. You keep staring at the glow, bitch, don't go blind. Brave heart energy, fuck all of the enemies. XO Hennessy is not on me, it's in me. I'm not here to be friendly, they ain't even contending. Comprende? We've been doing gangster shit for a long time. Look inside my mind, see a gold mine. I'm my own cosign, she texting the old line. Comprende? It's up. Hit boy, you on some other shit. We on some other shit. Comprende? Yeah.
Ooh, I liked that. It's things like that that I'm like wondering if he's referencing, maybe he's referencing old tracks of his own, showing his evolution. That might make more sense, actually, now that I think about it. I'm my own cosign. I like that. It also makes me think, too, back to where he said one of the other songs about the born alone, die alone, you know, I don't have anybody else to like basically to help defend the crown or the throne, whatever that line was. It kind of makes me think of that as well. I don't need your validation because I've been doing this. I trust myself and I trust my artistry because we've navigated this far. She texting the old line, again, going back to the beginning of trying to have me go back to something. And it's like, I've evolved. I'm different now. I can't go back to something that doesn't exist anymore. Keep staring at the globe, bitch, don't go blind. I don't know if he, you know, again, going back to the ice thing, you know, that sort of glow, or if it's also maybe talking about people trying to like copy. There's a difference between taking inspiration and copying. You know what I mean? I love the brave heart energy. Fuck all the enemies. Also the glow line, also the gold mind, glow. You've got the rare, which makes you think of like, I don't know. I feel like when I think of rare, I just always think of rare gems. And then also thinking about the stars and his whole thing about Mars. It paints an image to me and I like that as well. XO Hennessy, it's not on me, it's in me. I don't need to put things on. This is who I am. I don't need to fake this. This is just me. That's how I take that. I'm not here to be friendly. They ain't even contending. Comprende? I'm not trying to be your friend here. I'm not trying to like win you over. I'm doing my own thing. It has nothing to do with you. And that's not like, you can take that as being mean or you can take it for what it is, which is this is just the reality. Now, he also may be meaning it shady too, but my point is that like it doesn't have to be. We on some other shit. We're doing what we do and what I have done throughout my career and navigating things. I know my worth. I know that I'm rare. I know that I'm special, and I know that I can do this, and I have a career that proves that. That's what this whole thing makes me feel like. I also think that there is, you know, there's nuggets of wisdom in there to people who are not like trying to tear him down or in opposition or anything like that. Actual advice throughout here too that I think does speak to people who are maybe coming up as well, which I really like. That was good. I cannot believe I've spent this long, but here we are. Like, what do you mean? What do you mean? I need to get these out though because they're bothering me. Okay, well, I can tell you that I'm not going to get that album recorded today, so that's going to have to be a future me problem. But overall, introduction to NAS was clearly there was a lot to dive into. And for the record, I don't even feel like I, really grasped a lot here. And yet we spent that much time on it. What do you mean? I really enjoyed that though. There was obviously a lot to dig into. And I do think part of it too is kind of trying to navigate the difference in references. And the first 2 songs we did in this intro to NAS were from, before I was born. The third one was when I was like a young child. So, but I think overall I really enjoyed that. And I can definitely see where, not to compare or anything like that, but more in the sense of like, I can see where Kendrick learned from certain things, Like even just with the little bits I did here. He is obviously his own artist. He's incredible. I'm not trying to diminish his own talent in any way, but like, he's talked about studying and learning and stuff like that from the people who's come before him or been around and all of those things. And so it is really cool to see some of that reflected, like some of the things that you can see why Kendrick would be inspired by someone like Nas. And I am excited to get more to his discography. I am slightly concerned that we may have to, really adjust. I'm either going to have to put limits on myself at how long I can dig into a song, or we're really going to have to break the albums up in parts whenever we get to his discography, because I fear that I will have a lot to say. So, not complaining, but wow, that was a lot. I was not expecting that. Really enjoyed that though. So thank you guys for your recommendations. As always, I just feel like you guys always have like the best picks and show me some range, recommend things that I think I will enjoy. And I love you guys for that. So thank you. And if you want to be more involved in that process, join us over on Patreon, especially the Salem's Coven members who actually get more, weigh in. Keep in mind that I don't want too much spoiled for me, because hopefully we do get to go down his discography in the future, but I still want to know, at least within the framework of these songs, any interesting information you guys have or anything like that. And obviously let me know, what did I get right? What did I get wrong? What did I miss? Because I am so sure there is so much that I missed. And I will see you in the next one.